Ladies and gentlemen, they say there is a big difference between ideal politics versus real politics. Ideal politics is what things ought to be. Real politics is what things actually are. And an example would be, in ideal politics, you would want people to elect leaders based on individual competence or based on persuasive, tangible issues. But in reality, there are factors that voters always, and this is world over, factors that voters world over will look at. And so in this video, I want to share with you three factors that are likely to greatly influence the 2027 presidential election. If that is something you want to watch, I urge you to stay tuned until the end. And if you're watching for the first time, take a moment, subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss subsequent videos. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, let us jump right in. I said that there is a big difference between what is ideal and what is real. Take an example of the last election in the USA, the just concluded election. There were 4 candidates. I'm persuaded majority of you don't know the other 2, apart from Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. In terms of individual qualifications and in terms of standing with serious issues, these other 2 candidates, ladies and gentlemen, might have been better. But that is not what voters look at. Voters look at very different things when they are going to the poll. And so these candidates did not even get 1 million votes each. So, back to Kenya. We always have elections, presidential elections, and we always have at least 5 candidates. There was a time actually we had Dr. Kot on the ballot. We have had Martha Karua on the ballot. We've had Mudavadi on the ballot. And they have performed dismally. Even though Mudavadi was coming from Western, he lost to Raila Odinga in Vihiga. So what are these things that voters look at when they are going for a presidential candidate? And these things have never changed, ladies and gentlemen. And I said world over. First is regional arrangements. This is very important. Whatever is uniting people is immaterial. But whatever unites them, regional arrangements are very important in politics. And that is why, even if you went to the UK, there are zones that you know the Conservatives will win and the Liberals won't. These are areas that you know the Conservative Party is going to win, and this other area, it is likely, it's always predictable that the Labour Party will emerge victorious. In the US, the same. The southern states mostly will vote red, and then you have states like New York and California which are likely to vote blue. So regional arrangements are very important. I once told you that elections in Kenya are determined by 3 regions, or rather 3 communities. The Kikuyus from Mount Kenya region, the Kalenjins from the Rift Valley region, and the Luos from the Western region. These 3 influence greatly who becomes the president, especially if the 2 of them come together. So regional arrangements in this case would be Luos coming together with Kalenjins, or Luos coming together with Kikuyus, or Kikuyus coming together with Kalenjin. Whichever combination that you'll get, the presidential candidate they support will emerge the winner. So, if, for instance, Luos supported Kalenjins and Ruto is the candidate, William Ruto will be re-elected no matter what. It doesn't matter what. That combination will win election. And I won't stop telling you that this is proven. In 2002, Kibaki was elected because Luos and Kikuyus came together. It didn't matter how influential Moi was or what Moi used to support all the state machineries that Moi deployed to support Uhuru Kenyatta. Mwai Kibaki still won that election because Luos and Kikuyus were together. I've told you it is just 3 communities. And these communities, when 2 of them come together, when 2 of them agree to work together, they produce a presidential candidate. They produce the president. In 2002, like I said, it didn't matter what Moi was going to use. Luos and Kikuyus came together. And I tell you, Kibaki won decisively. In 2007, just so that you don't miss this point, I will keep on repeating it. In 2007, Kalenjins and Luos came together. And if you doubt whether Raila won, just check who won the MCS, then the councillors. Then we didn't have MCS. Who won the parliamentary majority. In Kenya, you can't win the MCS and win the parliamentary majority and then lose at the presidential. And that is why actually Kibaki was won at night. It was a contentious election. Raila won. Kibaki didn't want to leave power. That combination was not going to lose. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, Uhuru Kenyatta, knowing that truth, knowing that reality, looked for Ruto, even though Kalenjins and Kikuyus were not in good terms after the post-election violence. Uhuru still looked for Ruto, and they came together because he knew that a combination of Kalenjin and Kikuyus was not going to be defeated, irrespective of the fact that they were facing indictment at the ICC. They were elected. In fact, in 2017, people thought that Uhuru was a one-term. I remember there are people who were singing that Uhuru Kenyatta was a one-term, and I never even bothered because as long as Kalenjins and Kikuyus were still united, that regional combination, that particular regional arrangement ensured that Uhuru Kenyatta was re-elected. Even though the courts nullified the election, when they went back, they were still going to win no matter what. And that is something Raila understood, and he didn't even bother to go for the rerun. It was going to be the same result. He was going to lose. He knows also, he understood that. That is why when they formed an handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta in 2018, the biggest challenge they had, what they focused on was to ensure that Kalenjins were no longer in pact, that Kikuyus were no longer reading from the same script with Kalenjins. Of course, they failed miserably. Kikuyus and Kalenjins remained intact, and Ruto was guaranteed to win. It didn't matter what resources the state deployed. It didn't matter how much Raila and the billionaires and the medias and the and the deep state and the systems were going to use. It didn't matter. That combination of those 2 communities was going to ensure that Ruto is re-elected. Now that Ruto does not have the Kikuyus on his side, because this is raw politics. So here we don't sugarcoat anything. We don't say, oh, he still has this. And the politics of lies, where you go and lie to your leader that you still have this region just to make them feel good, that is not what this channel is about. So here we just say the way it is. After all, it's called raw politics. The Kikuyus are gone. I've done videos telling you why they went. If you've not watched that, I have linked that video here. So, they are gone. And if they are gone, that leaves the 3 communities for the first time not united still. Luos are still pulling on their own, Kikuyus are now pulling on their own, and Kalenjins are pulling on their own. If Kalenjins succeed to convince Luos to back them, William Ruto will be re-elected in 2027, ladies and gentlemen. It won't matter what is trended on Twitter. It won't matter what people say, the threats that will be issued, whatever violence that will be unleashed, Ruto will be re-elected. If Kikuyu succeed to convince, because the only community that is now the hot cake community now is the Luos, because Kikuyus would want the Luos to support them so that they punish Ruto. Because with Luos on the side of the Kikuyus, I tell you, William Ruto will be a one-term president. That one he will be. If Luos and Mount Kenya come together, William Ruto is a one-term president. If Luos and Kalenjins come together, William Ruto will be re-elected. And so the determinant in this particular election of the 2027 under this category, under this factor of regional arrangement, is which community will the Luos join. If the Luos join Kalenjin, Ruto is re-elected. If the Luos join Kikuyu, Ruto is a one-term. That is one factor, ladies and gentlemen, that will greatly determine elections in 2027. Just in case you've forgotten, I call it regional arrangements, and the three communities are going to play significant roles. Whichever side Luos will back in the 2027 election, that side will win. The two competing communities now are the Kalenjins and the Kikuyus. Whichever is going to convince Luos to support them, that is the victor, based on that particular factor. The second factor that is likely to influence the winner of the presidential election in 2027 is delivery, performance. This is really in reference to William Ruto, because he's the one that is in power. If you doubt whether performance is a key issue, a key determinant come 2027, ask yourself why almost every meaningful policy that William comes up with to implement is vehemently opposed. Ask yourself why. The simple reason is, if Ruto does not implement most of his promises, then it is very easy to use this against him come 2027. You would be like, this guy was given a chance in between 2022 and 2027, and he delivered zilch. He did nothing. And for that reason, ladies and gentlemen, we can't trust him with another 5 years. If he could not do anything in 5 years, what makes you think that he's going to do something new given another 5 years? And so performance is everything. And you will see moving forward that people who are opposed to Ruto will oppose every policy that he comes up with. However good they are, however well-meaning those policies are, they will be opposed. Whether the grounds are flimsy or far-fetched, the policies of William Ruto shall be opposed nonetheless. Why? Because I told you, if Ruto delivers, it is very easy for Ruto to tell people that, you see, I was given 5 years and this is what I've delivered so far. Imagine if you had me another 5 years, I would revolutionize or transform this country for the better. And so people who are anti-Ruto I expect them to do everything. And so the mainstream media will paint Ruto as the worst person possible. If there are some rebellions, the mainstream media expect them to give those rebels a platform to recruit as many people as possible. If it is a matter of incitement, they will do that. If it is a matter of challenging the policies, the mainstream media, these billionaires, everybody, especially the new opposition now, especially the people of Mount Kenya, they will oppose everything that William Ruto is going to launch. Everything. They will oppose it. Why? Because this is a very important deciding factor. If Ruto delivers, his chances of being re-elected are very high. If he doesn't deliver, on the other hand, whether he was distracted or not, it is very easy to challenge his ability to govern. You get that? So that is the second factor, the ability to deliver on promises. If Ruto does it, he has a very high chance of getting re-elected, because even those who didn't like him will be like, okay, I may not like this guy, but he has done this and this and this and this, and this is making life easier for me. Okay, so expect Ruto's policies to be vehemently opposed by his critics. The third factor that is going to influence this election, apart from regional arrangement and delivered promises, is the young people's vote. I know I have told you on several occasions, especially via my videos, that our serious presidential candidate can never rely on the votes of the young people. Because apart from the fact that they rarely register as voters, they don't show up. That is why Malema would hold a rally like never seen before, or even have 1 million people marching across Joburg, but ended up being the fourth. He even lost to Zuma. Peter Obi was endorsed by every person you knew. Social media was all over with Peter Obi. From the look of things, you would think this was a president in waiting, but he became a distant third. The other day, you saw Kamala Harris was endorsed not just by every celebrity. Taylor Swift, which is one of the very popular young people in the US, endorsed her. And it was like, wow, with that millions of young people, Kamala was going to win. What was the result? Young people did not even vote for her. She did not even get the votes that Biden got. Okay, Biden got 81 million. This lady got some 73. So it's a difference of almost 8 million votes. So they don't show up. But why am I including them here as a factor that is likely to influence the 2027 election? It's because in this particular channel, we are not going to be naive. We are not going to rule out completely the possibility of young people actually registering overwhelmingly and going into the 2027 and turning out in 2027 to vote. So we are not going to rule out that. We cannot certainly say that, forget about young people. They failed Malema, they failed Peter Obi, they failed Kamala. They rarely get out, okay? Jawajakoya depended on them. He got nothing. I am not going to rule them out, okay? Because these are the highest consumers of misinformation. That is why those who are doing their propaganda are targeting young people on TikTok, on YouTube, on Twitter, on X, or even on Facebook. They are the target. They are the people that are being targeted by misinformation. They are the people who are being told that SHA is a scheme to loot money. These are the people who are persuaded that actually Ruto already sold the airport. And even if you met them, they will tell you that guy is useless. He sold the airport. So I'm assuming that if this kind of misinformation continues and eventually it gets into them, okay? And you saw how easy it was, very easy to get them on the street, whether it was Raila calling them to the street or whether it was Rigathi ferrying them to town. It is very easy to get these young people to do a ridiculous thing. So if young people are to register overwhelmingly and then turn out come 2027 to vote, you can't rule the influence of that. Because that means if they came to the voting as a block and they're like, we don't care about tribe, we don't care about regional arrangements, we don't care whether Ruto has delivered or not, we are just here specifically to punish him, then that, ladies and gentlemen, can seriously affect the outcome of 2027. I don't want to lie to you. If it's very unlikely to happen, but then in politics, you cannot have this type of analysis where you rule out something completely. And by the way, 3 years is a lot of time. It's a long time in politics. These people who are not even voters, who we've ruled out, okay, might decide and change for the first time, because there's always a first time. Okay, there's always the first time. So these people might prove us wrong and register as voters and decide to go to the poll to punish a presidential candidate or to stand with one of their own. You never know. Just as a recap, in case you've forgotten, we have 3 factors that I believe are likely to influence the presidential election of 2027. One is the regional arrangement. Which side will the Luos support? If they support Kalenjins, Ruto is re-elected. If they support Kikuyus, Ruto is 1 term. Whoever the Kikuyus have will be elected the president. Number 2 is Ruto's ability to deliver a significant portion of his manifesto. Actually, I'm glad he's on course. He's doing a lot, far and beyond. You may disagree, but I've always shared with you the facts here. He's done a lot. And so this is very important, because if he was to go and meet undecided voters in 2027, most of them will depend entirely on whether Ruto has delivered. And that is why you see the opposition, people who are opposed to Ruto, are specific. They are opposing his policies. Anything that he launches, they oppose it. They make it look bad. Why? They know that if these things succeed, then it is very difficult to stop Ruto, especially when it comes to convincing maybe the young people and undecided middle-class voters. They will look at what has Ruto delivered. And then third is the young voters. I have ruled them out several times because from history, they don't come out to vote. But I'm also not naive enough to say there is not a first time for everything. What if they register as voters and turn out in large numbers and vote for their favorite candidate? It will have significant influence because, as you know, Kenya has a very young population. So if the young people decided to go to the voting booth, if they decided, which is very difficult, but let's say they do, they are going to have significant influence in terms of who becomes the president come 2027. Ladies and gentlemen, if you found this useful, let me know in the comment section and drop a like. And if you have not subscribed yet, take a moment, subscribe to this channel, and of course, share this video with your friends. Let's meet in the next video.